Today, I am celebrating with Steve Aizenstat the release of his new book, The Imagination Matrix. Steve is, of course, well known to be the founder of Pacifica Graduate Institute, and I had the privilege to attend that university myself. He also developed a very interesting technique called dream tending, which is also a highly recommended book in and by itself. And Steve is also a psychotherapist. Yet today we celebrate his new book, The Imagination Matrix. And Steve, first of all, deep congratulations for the delivery of this artistic contribution to the world. And what is the book about?
Oh, thank you, Machiel. It's great to be here. The book originates out of my passion and my care for the imagination, the deep imagination, the imagination that has a life of its own, that moves through all of us. And certainly, yes, my work over the last more than 35 years now, has oriented around dream, working with dream. I call it dream tending, as you mentioned. This, though, takes it another step further, right? In addition to how the imagination expresses itself through dream, also has a life of its own, and it expresses itself through all kinds of mediums, through waking dreams, we could say, also through our direct experiences in the day. And what I wanted to do was really outline through story and examples, through case studies, through my own direct experience, the nature of imagination and how we actually journey, how we can journey into the imagination and listen and really connect with what I name soul companions and listen to the guidance, the resource, the capacity that the imagination has for us. And what I mean by that, it's the imagination in relation to our physical well-being, our psychological, emotional well-being, and to our artistic capacities. And what I've discovered over these many months now and years, a sense of our belonging and our life purpose is really not only opened and illustrated in the imagination, it also really provides almost a blueprint, a map, so to speak, of the way, the path forward. Mm.
I really love the aspect of the soul companions, Steve, in your book. It's practical. You give suggestions on how to cultivate and nurture that relationship, and also how they are instructive for every aspect in our life. And maybe you can briefly share or give us a little teaser on what we can expect in the book on connecting with soul companions.
Great. I would love to do that. For me, it's the difference that's made all the difference in my life. And particularly, as you shared, I have worked as a therapist for many, many, many years, and as a consultant to different corporations, and in all areas. This is really, I think, the difference that truly does make the difference. Soul companions. These are the figures, the inner figures that are part of all of our life experience. I mean, people have been referring to these figures all throughout human experience. They're everything from guardian angels to figures that are not so helpful and inviting, dragons and demons, right? And all the images that we experience that have truly a sense of their own existence, their own visceral life, though imaginal, but yet are part of our direct experience. And I refer to these figures as soul companions. And the work is to develop relationship with them. It's as if we connect with an inner family of figures, an inner community. I mean, we know how important it is to be part of an outer community. It is our dear friends, whether they're colleagues, family members, people that we've known for a long, long time, people alive and or dead. That community is so important. In addition, there's an inner community, the figures that are part of our life forever, right? That we often are remiss in deepening our relationship with. I know for sure, just to give an example, when I'm working with couples, any kind of relationship, people come in and they're, of course, interacting with each other. Often when I'm working with them, there's some trouble that's up. which happens in almost every couple or relationship. And who's present now? Certainly the two people are present now, but there are other figures in the room, other influences in the room that are also here and now. And it's those figures that I get really curious about, right? We experience them in moods, something happens and we find ourselves in a bad mood. And the question I ask is, in that mood, who's visiting now? Yeah, we know it's anguish, or we know it's despair, or we know it's hurt, or we know it's a sense of feeling rejected or left out, or the list goes on. And those are the ones that are difficult and sometimes intolerable. We also know the other side. All of a sudden we feel a sense of elation, inspiration, quality of beauty, a sense of really being part of something bigger than, fascination opens up. Those two are emotions and feelings that move through us. My sense is that behind each of those emotions, those feelings, those experiences, whether they're beautiful and wondrous or whether they're painful and crippling in some instances, there lives a figure, an image, a soul companion. And our work is to get to know them. With the ones that are most difficult, with support, and care and a skill set. I offer lots of skill sets in this book. How to really befriend is the word that I use, these figures. Now, we're going to need support. We're going to need protection in relation to the ones that are difficult. But it's so useful in a life to move ourselves out of feeling possessed by, or tortured by these figures and out of identification with them and into a different kind of relationship with them. Something really different happens in a life when they become allies rather than, let's say, tormentors. When they're tormenting us, it's such an energy drain and depletion. And we frankly lose a sense of who we are, a sense of our true self. We're so distant from our calling, the authenticity of what is our sense of destiny or calling. On the other hand, when we're in relationship with these figures, something different happens. They become allies. And to the extent that we get to know that inner community is the extent that we have real support in following our purpose, our true purpose, our life's purpose in the world. So I'm a big advocate in the Imagination Matrix, the book that I've just authored, to offer people skills and tools. Now, I'll just give one more quick example.
Yes.
Yeah, when I lecture now in multiple places. I've been asked to be keynote presence in all kinds of different forums. And, I can do that at this point in my life. I have some expertise, not, all expertise, but enough expertise in particular areas. And I've had the training to get up and offer the lecture. That's one way of doing that work. Or if I'm working administratively, I have the capacity to, mobilize my skill set and make the necessary interventions in terms of everything from long range planning to personnel disputes and on that goes. That's one way of working. And I'm working out of my background, my training, my rational mind, and I bring focus. There's another way of approaching it, everything from relationships to offering something in a public forum. And that is before standing up and offering presentation, right? I first consult with these soul companions, these inner figures, the inner community. Then when I'm up at the podium or in an organization or in a family system or in a relationship, I'm not just approaching it, through a single lens. At that point, I'm part of an inner resource. They just part of an inner sense of belonging to something more than. And I feel confident. I feel a sense of, I don't know, true support and true belonging to a kind of grounded conviction that really allows me to be more open, vulnerable with a sense of support and ease. Yeah.
I love your examples, and also it gives a little taste of it. This book deals with imagination, like moods, feelings that we have, or practical times where we're encountering day-to-day activities that we need to engage. And I wonder in that regard, what will people learn from this book, and what will people learn from this book that might already have read Dream Tending?
Yes, this takes dream tending to the next evolution, frankly, because in this book, dreams, as essential as they are, and certainly expressions of imagination, right? They have a life of their own, dreams, and they offer guidance and support, and they bring information that we might be missing, and on that goes. In addition, though, there's something else. Dreams offer themselves as portals. Yeah, portals into the imagination, the deep imagination, the autonomous imagination. They offer us portals into the realm of psyche, right? So the possibility exists to listen to dream, to work with dream, to tend to dream, and then to notice in the dreamscape where the portal is that opens the door into journeying through imagination. Once we're journeying in imagination, oh my goodness, the resources that are available there that support us in our own well being, as I said, emotionally, physiologically, right? Psychologically, even our version of spiritually. Those resources, when we're journeying with the soul companions, and dreams offer the companions, they also offer the portal. They offer the way into that kind of journeying. That's what this book is about. This book is about really what it is to journey through imagination, through the autonomous imagination, through the matrix of imagination, and meet and greet, who in turn meets and greets us there. Not only me personally, I'm just one member of the traveling group, right? One companion among the many soul companions. You imagine what it is to journey in that way, and really be an explorer, an adventurer. So the book offers the skills and the tools and the ways of doing that. I share my own experience. I share my experience working with so many others. I really offer exercise after exercise, the toolkit, some ways that people can really bring this way of being in relationship to imagination, bring this into their lived experience. Mm.
A meet and greet with the figures of the imagination. That sounds marvelous. And Steve, in the world we live in today, with the personal troubles and the collective troubles, how can this book sustain and help us in that way?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. I was actually, what's true is this morning I woke up with that reflection, and it came both in a dream and then in the journeying that I did after the dream. I call that, and I name it in the book too. For me personally, it's a dig. And for each person, they find their own name and metaphor to work with. Uh, if there was ever a time, to really access imagination, I believe now is the time. Now, it seems kind of peculiar since the literalism of what's happening today is just overwhelming. In other words, you know, obviously we're quite aware of the edge that people are on, the threat, the real threat that so many are facing today in many places in the world. So the question becomes, how do you bring our humanity? How do we bring our humanity into the kind of what's being played out, right? Which is really threatening to the sense of people being in community, people being in a cooperative mode, people understanding what it is like really to construct and build really rather than to tear down, hurt, or destroy. Imagination holds the key, I'm convinced, because when I'm in touch with my imagination, something else opens. Compassion opens, mhm. A wider bandwidth to consider additional opportunities opens. Yes. A sense of belonging to this inner community that I named reveals itself. And when that reveals itself in its diversity, then I'm much more tolerant and interested, even fascinated in what that could be like in the wider community, in my home place, or when I'm thinking about people in other places that are threatened right at the moment. I'm convinced that deep imagination, right, is a real, what do I want to say, food for the soul, say it like that, or really is a resource that each of us personally and collectively can work with that will really improve not only the quality of our lives, but what it is like to be in the community of people, right? Not only in our local communities, but in the world community as well. Mm.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing that. And where can people get the book?
Well, certainly online, any place at this point in time. Um, you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that you can order books. It's available. It's also available in bookstores. I'm now touring the country, and there's lots of places that are bringing the book forward and the work forward in all kinds of capacities. So, just look up the Imagination Matrix, and that will take you right to a source place that you can purchase the book.
Well, I highly recommend it. I had the pleasure to read it, Steve, and it is really compelling. It is practical, gives perspectives, and what you shared today, all these ways of engaging with imagination that goes way beyond dream work. It's dreaming while awake included. And so once again, for everyone, go to Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, or somewhere online, get a copy of the book, enjoy it, and go on a journey for a lifetime. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Machiel. Good to be here with you.